welcome to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sports.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sport F1 Fantasy Show 2023. Michael, let's go. Hey, look, Ishmael in the chat one time. Right, we love it. Everyone is present and accounted for. Michael, let me start with you. How excited are you, bro? We had to wait a while, but it is here. Bahrain GP. Talk to me. How happy are you?
I am excited, ecstatic, because I don't know. I think it's only when it says you do have F1 you realize how much you miss F1. So yeah, I'm just glad to finally have it back, to really get back into it and really just see what the year brings. It's kind of the same cars, but yet not the same cars. Already from preseason, we're seeing a couple teams that might be surprising us this season. So it might be a season of surprises. So it's just excitement to see what happens. As a Mercedes fans, yes, hoping and praying that we do better this year. At the same time, cheeks clenched because we're seeing Aston Martin putting in great performances. So it's really a season to watch. I think I'm maybe maturing a bit, so maybe I'm not blindly following Mercedes. I think that's to some extent what's what I'm looking for. That's a hedonist these fans. Mercedes fan, but I think maybe it's a bit of maturity. So even on one of my teams, I have Max from the start of the season because we playing to win fantasy and not loyalty this time. But yeah, I'm just super excited to see what the season brings, the drama, the action. I know I did not watch Drive to Survive. I have no intention of watching it. So yeah.
Same here, bro. Ishmael, welcome. Thanks for coming through. Are you excited? So you're ready in a few days' time is the Bahrain GP. What are you looking forward to most, Ishmael?
I looking to see if my boy here have Alonso in his team.
Wow.
Is he betting on Austin doing better than Mercedes?
I'll put Alonso over Stroll.
That's what I want
to know.
No,
I'm not. But I'm being smart. I'm being smart from a fantasy point of view. But my loyalty and love still always will be for Mercedes.
But yeah,
never.
For me, it's kind of like I like to relate back a lot of things in F1 to football for certain things. And for me, like if you look at certain teams in football, like Real Madrid, Manchester United, just teams that everybody are familiar with, right? You would notice that there are a lot of players that, for lack of a better term, deadwood, right? And I kind of felt like last year, and even the year before, F1 is a unique sport, right? Because there's only 20 possible drivers in the world that gets for a full season. You know, you have 2 drivers and whatnot, right? But there's 20 persons who get the privilege and opportunity to drive. And I find even though that is so competitive and so unique, past couple seasons had some drivers that were not exactly living up to the talent, commitment, and just overall ability of the other drivers. I find there was a big gap, bigger than you would expect for something that is so, restricted and very small access to a lot of people. So I'm just really happy that certain drivers, and I'm not going to call no names, but certain drivers may not be there anymore. And at the end of the day, like, yes, it's down to the car as well, right? It's down to the team as
We,
well. Because at the end of the day, the driver could only be so talented. So you have certain cars, cough, Mercedes last season, Lewis Hamilton, not
mm-hmm.
being able to perform. So I found that certain drivers,
Hull.
even though they have certain cars, you had their compatriot driver, their team driver, outperforming them by miles, right? And it's good to see that they're not there anymore. Because I think I'm excited for the young rookie drivers coming in.
Hmm.
I think the ones who made it into this year are all very talented and
Mm-hmm.
all up there. Even if they're not like, on the same level with each other, the cluster is a lot smaller. The difference between the drivers, I would say ability is a lot smaller in that all the drivers are super talented. So I'm really just looking forward to see if that does actually pan out and if that's actually true, where once the car's performing, drivers will perform, right? So
Well,
that's what I'm looking for.
speaking of drivers, let's take a look at the drivers. Let's take a look at, because this is what we're here for. This is the point. Without the drivers, there's no F1, right? Without the cars, there's no F1. So let's take a look at the teams. Let's take a look at who will be taking the track this Sunday at the Bahrain GP. So of course, Red Bull remain the same. We have Max Verstappen and of course Sergio Perez. We have
Red
Ferrari.
Bull remains the same for how long?
Well,
That's a question you need to ask yourself.
I,
let's see
I
what Team
I think
Wallace do Sunday.
they will stay. It will. I think the team will keep as it is for the year. I don't think you'd have a media change like they've liked to done in the past. But I
Right.
think the gloves gonna be off. I think maybe after the first three races, Perez will just play his role to see what the team is doing in terms of prioritizing Max or him. And after maybe the first races, and he gets his okay, cool, yeah, they don't care about me. He's going to be gloves off and to hell with Max. That's what
Yeah,
I want to see to be honest.
as soon as he does that, and if he gets like two crashes, that's it. He out. Daniel in.
True. That's it. So
Then
he needs to do. He can do it, but in a smart way that doesn't jeopardize your team.
Helmut Marko said, "I've got one eye on Checo, one eye on Daniel." So should be fun. Should be fun.
It will be
Fun.
most definitely.
Of course, Team Ferrari remains the same as well, but of course, there's some director changes. We have a new face dealing and doling out the strategies. So let's see if they can fix that problem, Michael. Of course, Leclerc and Sainz, and
Yeah,
then of
and
course,
the nice the nice thing with Fred coming in is that Fred and Leclerc has a relationship. Remember, Leclerc started off under him when Leclerc started off in Alfa Romeo, and they had a really nice relationship. So, I mean, I think Leclerc would be happy to have Fred back, and maybe that would help Leclerc reestablish his dominance in Ferrari. Because
That might be the
remember,
only thing you're happy about because the car this season, we'll get to that, but yikes.
that's it. No, so that's it. So under Matteo was starting to favor Sainz, but with Fred coming in back in and Fred and Leclerc having a kind of relationship, he might get back his golden boy status of being the quote unquote number one. So I think this is really a season Sainz has to step it up to even show Ferrari even more. I
Well, as
am
you said
as
that,
talented or more talented than Leclerc.
I saw that there are reports that the car is more favored to Sainz driving style. So
Well, we'll see. That will be quite interesting.
we will definitely see. Of course, Mercedes remaining unchanged. We have Russell, and of course, we have Hamilton. But
Don't fix it.
we'll get into the nitty gritty of certain things. But yeah, so George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Alpine, right? Of course, we have Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly pairing up for Alpine. We have for McLaren, right? Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Of course, we know Ishmael's favorite driver has left and went to Red Bull. And of
Gone back.
course, Alfa Romeo, we have Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou right? Aston Martin, the so-called dark horses from preseason, everybody seems to be very hyped on them. Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, the legend Fernando Alonso. Haas, we have Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg.
Ulkenberg.
Right? Halford Torrey, we have Nick De Vries, who had a nice end to the season last season. Looked pretty decent, so he might be a very good differential driver to pick for the fantasy, but we'll get there.
True.
Right? And of course, Yuki Tsunoda. And then, of course, we have Alexander Albon and Logan Sargent. Now, just to make a quick note, Lance Stroll, something happened to him. We don't know, right? So he's going to replace by. Can you give me the name, Michael? I really afraid to pronounce that name. It's a very interesting name.
I don't know how to pronounce that name either.
Yep,
I don't know how
Dragoon.
to
Oh
pronounce his
my
name either.
gosh, boy! I really don't want to. But yeah, let me get it for you quickly.
Butcher
But
his
that
name, but
guy,
he's being replaced for at least the first race.
yeah, maybe the first two. I think it will be not because we don't know the extent of the injury. They're being very cagey with it. We heard it was a biking incident. We don't know. So yeah, we're not too sure what's
The
going
man
on
broke up
at the
ears,
moment.
Doug.
Felipe
Not too
is
sure.
his name is Felipe
Drogovic.
Drogovic.
Dragovich, right? So he will most likely. So even if you pick Lance Stroll, the beauty about this fantasy, well, hopefully they carry on in this particular fantasy. At least in the other one we used to use. If you use Lance Stroll, whatever Dragovich do, you'll just get those points automatically. So nothing to worry about. Right? Shouldn't blank. Right, so there's your drivers. So I will leave this graphic up. We could quickly talk about the pre-season testing. What you guys, or Mike or Ishmael, what you would have gathered from it. Who's looking the best right now? Let's start from the bottom, go up now. So how did
Yeah.
Williams look in the pre-season testing for you guys? Let's start with you now, Michael. Who Williams looking all right. I mean, you can't take much from preseason testing, but I want you to break
You
it up
can't.
first, especially for the newbies, Michael.
So
Do we put a lot of faith and a lot of do we put a lot of thought into it and let preseason testing dictate our picks for the fantasy and also our picks for favorites, or it's just to get an idea of what the teams are looking to do?
and look, I think preseason for me is always about getting an idea. I never take preseason as Bible. This is the fastest car because a big term that persons coming into F1 and persons who have been around the scene will know is a lovely term we call sandbagging.
Well, yeah, Mercedes man must know that.
Of course,
Wow.
we know we wrote the book on sandbagging.
But here's the thing, right,
Um,
Michael? Here's the thing.
Huh?
Here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sandbagging was possible when Mercedes was good. Now that they're not good, they need to show their full performance.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, we'll get there. We will get there.
But-
We'll get there.
But so
Yes,
for
Michael.
those who don't know, sandbagging is essentially the habit or the activity where a team will downplay their ability, whether by turning down the engine or running experimental parts, quote unquote, to really not show their full hand during preseason testing is really for them to. They don't want to give away too much before, because if it is, say for example, Mercedes last year at the launch, they didn't show the zero side pod design, but during the Bahrain test they ran it, and that everybody was like, wow. So because in that time nobody had opportunity to copy it. Same thing with Red Bull. Last year Red Bull came out with their side pods. It seemingly worked, and look, this year Aston Martin is running something very similar to it. So you don't want to give away too much in the preseason test so that you give teams the opportunity to go back before the first race. Yes, it's just a week, but if it is okay, cool, it came up in their design as Aston Martin claims it did, you then confirm for them, okay, cool, this is the way to go, as opposed to I don't know how this will work as yet, so sandbagging is a big thing in preseason testing. Yes, Mercedes, we use it a lot, but other teams do. So I never take preseason as law. Okay, this is where to go. This is where to put my picks, but it gives you a nice idea. So based on the times, we see that, okay, cool, something is definitely improved about the Aston Martin team. But we're focusing on Williams right now. I think Williams is still to the back of the grid. They have a lot of work to do on their car still. The driver lineup is interesting because now, for the first time, Alex is in this kind of senior position. Yes, he was senior until Latifi last year, but I think even more so now because this is Logan's very first season in F1. He's
Correct.
straight out to F2, so now this is Alex's first time of being the quote unquote big brother of the team. So it's to see how it is he takes this role as a leader. Does he play the nice game and support Logan and teach him the reins and give him guidance? Or does he play brutish and arrogant, whereby I'm the big boss with experience? You do what I say, get out of my way, and stay out of my way. You know? So it's nice. It's interesting to see how the dynamic will play there. But as it relates to the car and its competitiveness, I think it's still going to be fighting for lower fifth place positions. Maybe on one or two tracks, it might surprise and give us a 10th place or something like that. But I really don't think we'll see Williams up at the top fighting.
All right. All
Ish.
right. All right. Well, no, let them do Alpha Tori, right? So I do Alpha Tori for me and Ishmael. If you follow them, let me know what you think about them for the from preseason.
I think Yuki had a fantastic season, I would say, last season.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
It wasn't his best in terms of he had was very fortunate in all of the things, but I really can't complain with Yuki's season last season. I think he had some quality development, given whatever the challenges were. And well, I mean, we all know about Nick DeVries, the a very, very competent, I would say, driver, because he does seem like he has a lot of talent. However, AlphaTauri disappointed last season with their performance, and I do not see this season being much different. It's to the point where Red Bull is actually there's rumors that Red Bull wants to sell, right? And there's two options you're looking at: either moving the team base to England or
Mm-hmm.
selling the team. And for Red Bull to make that decision, I mean that's mainly commercial, I would say. But performance and commercial does have a hand-in-hand play, right? Because if Red Bull is convinced of the performance that they could have, then they know that there's a lot of performance in the car that would bring in the commercials by default. I mean, losing liked by Pierre Gasly as a huge disappointment, but even still, if their performance was good, there would have been something to push. But I don't think there's anything to push. And honestly, I think they are on the same level as Williams. Right now, I think Williams may even be ahead of them slightly. So they
But
can surprise us.
based on a little research, guys, it looked like a few issues from last season were fixed, like the gripping issues, and they were one of the teams that did the most laps. So it looked like they have that ability now to probably see out a race. But of course, again, it's practice. Racing conditions are a whole different ball game,
Castle
right?
for sure.
But we will see moving forward. Michael, Haas, Haas was one of my favorite teams from last season. They were Haas and Williams, of course, from the Tiffy, but of course, Haas from Magnussen. K-Mag had some nice performances in terms of the fantasy, pretty
Yeah.
decent. But in terms of the F1, Haas for preseason, how did they fare, Michael, in your eyes?
I think Haas is really they've made a lot of stride.
Hmm.
I think this year they have the opportunity and the ability to fight for at least a fifth place
Okay,
once the
okay,
car
okay.
sticks underneath them. Because look at our power lineup they have. They have K-Mag and Nico Hulkenberg. These are guys with 5+ years experience in a F1 car racing at against some of the best, being teammates with some of the best drivers and such. Um, Nico has been fighting on track with Lewis since his McLaren days. So it's a lot of experience has with them right now. Where they struggled last year is because of money. They couldn't do any real upgrades to the car.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But now they have a brand new title sponsor in MoneyGram. So I think with that boost of money, maybe they will have a bit more development on the car, which I think will really give them a better opportunity to fight. Because if it is remember last season properly, Haas did zero upgrades to their car till like halfway into the season or 3/4 into the season when
So
it started to drop off. And then when they brought their updates, they started back fighting a little closer to the front. So if it is they have, let's say, two more, so 3 total upgrades for the season,
Right.
they're going to be a lot higher and closer to the front. And then, as I said, with experienced drivers like them, you're not going to have issues like last year whereby the car's going to break in half in Monaco because Mick clipped the wall and then it ended up in a...
so two things to add there, Michael. Part one of the first one is that's why we watch Drive to Survive, because I just finished the father like son episode with Mick, and it just reminds you of the different incidents unfortunately Mick went through, the
Yeah,
different crashes, the lack in confidence, the cost of the crashes. I think they were like $500,000 crashes. Those were
yeah.
the money that they could have put in
Into the
to the
development, yeah.
upgrades, into the development, into the upgrades. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do that because they had to replace the car and whatnot.
Yeah.
And also, watching that, you went through a little part with Kevin and Haas, where before Kevin left, he was a hothead. The
He
man,
was
the famous he can't stand
punching
my
through the
door,
wall.
right?
Yeah, the door.
Yeah. So I mean, you saw in the Drive to Survive, as much as Drive to Survive is a drama, I would say less factual, less documentary type. It's more drama.
Mm-hmm.
They still see things, right? Because you realize that he had his child, he had some time off, he spent with family, he able to refocus. He knows this is his last opportunity, and he missed, and that's it. He knows what it's like to not that feeling where he doesn't have an F1 seat anymore. There's no hope of
Yeah.
having an F1 seat anymore. He doesn't want to get back there, and because of that, I do not think that he would fall back into that whole being a hothead, not playing a team game, that
Yeah,
kind of
no,
football.
since last year you saw his maturity level rise. So since last
Yeah,
year we could tell
but
it's a whole
the
different
reason I
driver.
mentioned that is because remember last time Kevin and Nico were together
It
as
sucked
the
my
driver of
balls,
Kevin.
mate.
So I mean that could potentially trigger
No, but
that
that's always...
fight in Kevin. But I think he matured enough.
I don't think it will. I
So
think that was both of them being young and hot-headed, and
yeah,
Kevin more so because Kevin was just a loose wire. Touch Kevin and he was going off.
yeah, for sure.
And it's
But
showing
at the
his
same
driving, but
time,
he's a big
Hulkenberg
boy now.
doesn't care if he die, right? That's the famous quote. I don't care if I die.
True,
He's
but
going for it,
nah,
and
he
he's going
mature
for it
as
strong.
well.
But again, both of them know what's like not to have a seat. They know what
Yeah,
they experience it more. Like when you're growing, you always hope that you can get a seat, and then your ego boosts when you get the seat and you have it for that time. But now the ego
yeah.
get a little bit, they get to mature a little bit. So that's one,
They get
right?
humbled. That's what happened to
They
them.
get humble for sure, for sure, right?
And I think with
And
Hulkenberg in particular, his his super sub days showed him exactly what his capabilities are. Meaning to say, they used to call Nico the Saturday and say everywhere drive the Sunday. He would jump in a car, never drive the car before, and still fight at the top. So I think with him being able to be at a team, learn the team, develop with the car, he's going to be performing on a whole different level that he never has before.
to add to that, and to come back to my football analysis, sometimes deadline day you have a player transfer, and he comes in and the first 3 months he not so hot, right? And then you hear everybody say, "Well, he didn't have a preseason. He didn't have a preseason." That was kind of Kevin last year, right? Kevin came in, had no training, no practice, no.
Mm-hmm.
His fitness wasn't all that, and he was in pain in a lot of these things because of his fitness. But we have preseason Kevin with preseason Nico. So Very, very, very excited.
But do you think
Yeah.
that they could get more, they could be around the points now, more mid
Yeah.
table?
I'm thinking that
That's why I said
if they
they
go
have a
two
solid
weeks,
chance at fifth place.
Yeah.
if they go
Once
2 weeks
Saka
without
performs,
a single driver getting points, they disappointing after 2 weeks.
All right. Well, let's move on to Aston Martin. Ishmael, Aston Martin.
The
Any
new
points?
horse.
Any points? any any points at all? Are you you still excited by Alonso? Alonso was pretty good last season. He just had some unfortunate incidents, some badly timed incidents, but Alonso was very good last season. I think he could continue that form with the Aston Martin
As much
constructor.
as Austin Martin is a Lance Stroll team, they're going to focus everything on Fernando Alonso because they know how valuable he is.
Hmm.
And as much as he'll cater to Lance Stroll, Alonso is going to get his way, which is not what he
true.
had at Alpine, right? And Alonso is up for it. Alonso is always up for it.
Yes, yes.
And I genuinely think that their low ceiling should be fourth place.
Okay.
But their
Okay.
upper potential, at a minimum, they should be fourth. Minimum.
Okay.
Upper potential is if things go their way, they could be challenging for a second. Not saying it's
Nah,
outright
third,
second.
third at best, but not second.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but this is your opinion, so I ain't jumping here. I'll wait. I ain't gonna jump at you, but yeah, yeah.
No, no, I'm not
Ma-
saying it's
but
outright that they'll get it, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they could be
Nah,
challenging for it.
it's
It's
hope,
the,
prayers, and dreams to get our second, but they could pull off. They could
they could.
definitely pull off a fourth and maybe fight for a third, but I
Maybe.
do see second being anywhere possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think we cannot forget Sainz and Checo. I think they are the main runners, but we'll get there for that type of position. I think Aston Martin for sure. If Mercedes have any reliability issues and problems that because it didn't look too hard, but we talk about them coming up in testing. If Aston Martin could automatically slide into that role. But are we getting too excited by Aston Martin, getting too
Yeah,
gassed?
for sure.
Next
For
thing
sure.
you know,
Yes, most
nothing
definitely.
at all.
Most
Yeah. 'Cause
definitely, but we just want something.
yeah, something new, something fresh, another extra.
That's it.
All
I
right,
think
well,
with Aston, they're exciting, yes, but I think they still have a lot of development to do as a team. So maybe in the first few races, they might come out wow us. So I feel like Aston will do us a Haas in that
That's okay.
last
They
year. They
never
will
win
come
it.
out, excite us. You'll be like, damn, this is the team to beat. And then after the first 5 races, they fall off.
yeah,
And Alonso will be extremely happy, and then he will just get bitter and sad, and then you see looking to jump ship again. But we'll see how it goes.
yeah, and we, we have to see how they do on these soft tires because with this particular track. But we will get there. We will get there, right? Alfa Romeo.
I'll leave this
Before
one for you, Jared.
Nah, I don't got Michael analyzing this one. I because I wouldn't lie, Michael. Funny Ishmael, I say this. I'm a little excited. A little
A little
excited
excited.
for Alfa Romeo. A teensy weeny bit, right? I don't know, again, a good vibe, but Bottas has to be consistent. Last season, he
Mhm.
everybody's like, what? He's out of Lewis shadow, he's doing his own thing, looking good, and then all of a sudden dipped.
Drop
And he
off.
got
Yeah.
a lot of reliability issues.
But
So
that wasn't
again,
him, right? That
right, I
was
mean,
the car.
of course, but still, there's only so much that he could do, right? Only so much he
Yeah.
could do, right? But he handled his own, he tried his best, but it just wasn't enough. But this season, I don't know, just getting a good vibe, looking a little different. I know that they manage a lot more laps this season as well. Yuki Tsunoda had the fastest time on the last day, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Don't but
You
maybe
know,
I say the
Guan
wrong
Joe.
thing.
Joe had
Joe had the last word, Joe. But I think Yuki
yeah.
Tsunoda did a quick lap as well. He had a quick lap
Yeah.
in the final day as
Did
well too.
so I think you gotta remember Alpha is powered by Ferrari, and the Ferrari engine, I think they did some rework on it, so the reliability looks a lot better based on preseason. But as you said, is only when it is we get into race situations you really see how the engine holds up.
Yeah.
So I think what's gonna be the biggest rise or fall for Alpha will be the car's reliability. Both
Yes.
drivers have the potential, as I said. Valtteri just needs to be consistent, but I think that also comes down to the car.
Yes.
And then we have to remember this is Guanijo's second season in F1,
Yeah. Can't be too far.
and he's done really, really well. I think
Correct.
he's held his own. He had a big crash last year
Yes.
to help him understand his sport a bit better. So I think Alpha is on the up. I think what it's going to come down to is the car's competitiveness and reliability. Reliability being the key thing to look at. But definitely, once they have a good enough car, they could definitely fight. I would say for maybe a 16 season, sixth or fifth. But they just need to get our car to work properly.
Yeah. All right. Well, it looked like the car based on the laps that they completed. It looked
Yeah,
like
based on the laps,
yeah.
based on the laps they could, but I mean that's the thing with preseason testing. It's so hard to gauge because you don't know who's pushing the car all the way out,
Yes.
who's not.
Yes.
So yeah, they pulled the fastest lap or two, but what if Red Bull was only running the engine at 85%?
Yeah, correct.
Or Mercedes was only running it at a 75% because they don't want to
What if they
damage
was
the
running with
engine
a full
before they
load?
start.
Full
Huh?
fuel load.
Exactly.
Fuel
What
load.
if they were running with full fuel load, whereas they were running with just
It was
enough for 2
minimally. It
laps?
wasn't much. Yeah, it wasn't using much fuel actually. So that's a whole nother ball game.
So that all these are things to consider. So that's why I guess we just need to we always have to take preseason with a grain of salt because so many teams are doing different things because they all have different things that they want to gauge. Some teams might be focused on reliability, gauging the reliability of the engine. Some teams might be focused on speed and setup, and so it's way too hard to compare the different teams based on times alone. Because they all run the cars differently. Because you put a Red Bull filled with half load of fuel versus a Alpha with 2 laps and the engine turned all the way up, it's going to be the Red Bull. But in a race, they're not going to be running with the engine all the way up with 2 laps of fuel. So that's the biggest things to consider. But I think, as I said, what is going to make or break that team this year, I don't think would be the drivers. It would definitely be the car and its reliability.
All right. So of course we have McLaren next. So of course that's Piastri and Norris.
Pain and sorrow.
It used to be Ishmael's favorite team, but I know he jumped ship because his favorite driver left. But Ishmael is not looking too hot for McLaren. McLaren might be at the back of the grid.
So the Alpine cough driver Oscar Piastri, I think he's very talented. I think Lando Norris is very talented. I think that they are two great drivers. Yes, it may be a rookie season. Yes, it may be, I think, the third or fourth season, if I'm not mistaken. And I think in terms of drivers, possibilities are endless. Possibilities are endless. And we could say that, okay, preseason wasn't so hot for them. Maybe they didn't back three in the grid in terms of the different teams, And then they come out after the second to third Grand Prix, fix all the issues, and they're challenging for first place. But the only thing that would guarantee me not putting any of their drivers into my side within the first, let's say, 5 races or so, is that the issues that they have is very specific. Is brakes issues. And if I remember clearly, whole of last season, they had brakes issues. So, you can't tell me you having the same issues you had whole of last season and expect me to have confidence in your car, in your performance, in your reliability, in your development. So, I mean, really, really sorry for the drivers because I think they're very talented and really excited to see them with a good car. He would be in good car, reliable car. Reliability, I think Lando Norris and George Russell in the same type of zone right now, in that give them a reliable car, not very fast, but reliable. Give them a reliable car, they'll get you points. But I don't see McLaren having a very reliable car.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
just like a little caveat to that, last season we started with, oh, Red Bull car, very unreliable, very unreliable. And then
Mm-hmm.
you turn around and see it was Ferrari who was very unreliable.
Yep.
So things can change and they can change rapidly. But at least for the first few races, I do see McLaren.
All right, solid. Moving on, Michael, you have Alpine. Now,
This
before you go further, it's so funny that Mercedes here and Alpine next to each other. The two teams that sandbagging, because Alpine sandbagging for sure,
true.
right? Alpine holding back, but I know they have a new director, and he has been very rigid with what he wants to reveal and divulge, and they have not done much at all. They've been very, very low key in this preseason, keeping things close to the chest. So, based on the little that we saw, Michael, take it away. What can we expect from Alpine?
My biggest concern with Alpine is on the car, to be honest.
Mm-hmm,
My biggest
mm-hmm,
concern with the team right now is the two drivers that they have.
mm-hmm.
Because they are, I want to use the word arch rivals, but petty arch rivals. So I honestly believe we're going to get 2007 Lewis versus Fernando
Mm-hmm.
because of the animosity they have with each other. I mean, I might be gassing up that feud between them, but I honestly believe, based on what I've seen, their past interactions and their pettiness on Instagram of
Right.
cropping each other out of pictures and thing, which to me is childish behavior, to be honest.
Of course,
But
of
if it
course.
is you as a big man making millions of dollars, supposed to be teaming with this guy for next year, and you're still doing that, that shows that feud between you all runs very deep for some reason. And I
To be
think that is
fair,
what.
it was Charles Leclerc who cropped Ocon out there, not Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly posted the picture with Ocon in it. So,
Okay.
yeah. But I think, yes, there is some animosity between them.
Yeah,
But I think
that is, I think, going to be the
Ocon
strongest thing.
just have to accept, although he was there in Alpine before, Gasly's just a better driver. He just had to accept it. If he do accept it, then there'll be
The
I
issues.
views of
think
Ismail are not the views of F1 of the fantasy
yes.
pavilion.
I
What?
think no, I think you can't make that statement just yet. He may be
No.
better driver because look at where he started. He's fine. He was in Alpha. He started off in Alpha in what they used to call himself before Alpha Turi, Toro Rosso. He
Taurus.
started off in Toro Rosso. He had years of time there learning the car, developing with the team. Then he get bumped up to Red Bull. He was in one of the top cars,
He was trash.
and
Trash
he
at
couldn't
Red
handle
Bull.
the pressure. Get relegated back to Toro Rosso. They switched to Alpha Turi. He was the number one driver there because they was paying him at, well, I think Danny Kvyat when he came back, then Alex Albon, and then with Yuki. So he's been the number one driver. And that is because the only reason why it is he could still perform is because he's familiar with the car. He was familiar with the Red Bull team, the Red Bull way, which is to some extent the Alpha Turi slash Toro Rosso way. So that's why it is he got kept that level of, okay, cool, I'm a good driver. But being in Alpine, a completely new team with a completely new philosophy, with everything that is different, as much as he may be the quote unquote better driver on paper or experience and accolades, we cannot make that statement just yet. We had to give him at least 5 races in the Alpine before it is we could say, okay, cool, Gasly is a better driver than Ocon. Because we have to
Totally
see how
agree.
well he adapts to the team and
I
the
would
car.
Totally
never,
agree.
ever, ever say that, Michael. Ever. I'm telling you right now.
What?
Ocon, Gasly, no way better than maybe more
I
experience.
agree with you.
More
I agree. I
experience. But
agree with
Ocon
you.
is the best on track for track. No way, bro. But I
I mean,
like what you
yes, because
said.
last year Esteban was fighting with Fernando Alonso
With
in the first
Alonso.
2 races of the
Come
season.
on.
They had moments where we thought we were going to crash and take both of them out. So
No, I totally agree with you, Michael.
I'm
Totally
not
agree,
going
right?
to say that he's the better driver. I don't want to say one is better than the other.
Of course,
But
of
let's
course.
see them in equal machinery and then judge
Exactly.
who is
And then
But
better.
judge. I agree. I
here's my thing,
fully agree.
right? Here's my thing, and here's why I'll be gassed on Gasly for at least the first
No,
10 races or
boo,
so, right?
boo. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because I think that this is his level. I think Red Bull was a little too much.
Right.
He was boasting it at AlphaTauri, Toro Rosso. I think this is his level. So even
I mean, it's
though
an all French
he,
team, so at to full extent, he's at home. He could
exactly,
speak French whole day. If it is he won, because everybody more than likely is French to some extent.
yeah,
Although so yes, he's happy and he may be more comfortable. And I agree, it's going to be an environment that's a lot healthier for him, so that we may see a lot of development and maturing coming out from Pierre. But I think this is not a season for him to try and be overly dominant or take control and say, okay, this is my team. Take your time, learn the team, adapt, understand, learn the car, and give your best on track. Learn, because I think F1 is in such a place right now that is very much pushing towards the commercial aspect of it. And as much as these are the best of the best drivers in the world, teams are not afraid to ditch a more experienced driver for a younger driver who might be bringing in that paper. And you saw that with Joe. It had so many people they could have select over Joe, but they say no. We want to extend we want to expand into the Chinese market and then get his yen money. So we'll bring in Joe. I think same thing to the extent with Yuki. Look at Logan Saga. Look at Logan Sargent and the American market, because it's now an American hedge
Mm-hmm.
fund that is
Mm-hmm.
running. I feel like people ignore it.
No.
It's
Facts.
American hedge fund running a traditionally British team, and the first thing they do when it is they have the chance is bring an American driver. And there's been talks of Red Bull wanting to do the same. And if it is remember, the whole purpose of Toro Rosso / AlphaTauri was to train drivers to bring into Red Bull. But Red Bull has seen us that, yo, we have a car, we don't really need to care. Once we have a decent enough driver, we will still keep topper. And that is why they could open their mind to I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy in the car that Red Bull was looking at
they were looking
to
at Logan Sargent too as well at some point,
and
I think.
and Logan. So clearly the teams are moving away from, oh, we want the best drivers, to we want the drivers that makes more sense financially to the team,
Marketable,
to
right?
the
Marketable.
sport,
Yeah. Yeah.
commercially, to push into newer markets. So if it is, I don't know, there's a guy in I think it's Alex Powell is his name, in the Mercedes Young Drivers program. He's Jamaican by birth or inheritance or something like that. If it is, he then became a player in the game, like he started to top, because he's actually at the top of karting and stuff across there. But if it is, he pushes into F2 and F3 and starts to climb the ladder a bit more. Maybe teams will start to look at him to say, okay, cool, this is a way we could break into the Caribbean market more, because now we'll be bringing into the full actual Caribbean driver. As much as Lewis has ties to Grenada, you'll have an actual quote unquote Jamaican or Caribbean driver on the grid. So I think F1, as much as it is about, okay, cool, we want the best drivers, I think a lot of teams are considering the marketability of their teams, because that's the whole point of, that's why it is Red Bull right now holding on to AlphaTauri, because there's like, okay, cool, they're looking like they're gonna stick with 10 teams alone. So if anybody wanna come inside and they have to buy a team, and if they want to buy a team, we're going to get the most money we could get for that team. Because oddly enough, I watched a video about it, about the whole AlphaTauri situation and thing today. So I think if it is Pierre smart, he's going to take his time, not try and shake the boat too much, learn the team, really develop with it, because I think this is the first time he's in a truly healthy and holistic environment that he could grow and really develop. And I think what Alpine has shown is that they are faithful and loyal. And once it is you do the same for them, they will keep you back. So once this he doesn't rock the boat and cause too much trouble, they wouldn't look to kick him out first try, simply because they understand this is his first time with the team. He's getting accustomed to the car and their philosophy, and he's also going to have to unlearn the toxic ways that he would have had instilled in him for the past 5+ years being in the Red Bull family.
Wow,
Pressure.
wow.
All right, so
But
moving right
just one quick
along.
question for Michael.
Yeah. Mm.
As you talk about all our marketability, I think if they had
Mm-hmm.
to kick out a driver between Ocon and Gasly because of marketability, who you
Mm.
think will stay?
Who will stay?
Because Pierre Gasly is way more marketable than Ocon, right? Way more likable,
Agreed,
way
he
more
is.
charismatic.
Agreed, he is. So this is where the loyalty aspects of it will then come in, because Esteban has had more of a relationship with Alpine than Pierre. So if it is, it depends.
I
But based
wouldn't
on
say
the
it
team that
really
Alpine is,
is.
I think they will prioritize loyalty over
Yeah.
marketability and that kind of thing.
I wouldn't say it's loyalty. I would say it's lack of ruthlessness. If you're being honest, they're very passive in their
What
decisions.
you have against
I mean, that's the
Ocon,
French.
bro? Nah, man. Ocon, nah. Let's be real though. After Drive to Survive, when people saw Ocon's story, a lot of people fell in love with Ocon. Eh?
I didn't
Gasly
reach that
just,
episode yet, so we'll
Gasly
see.
just have that look. Gasly just have that, vibe. So that's what a lot of people draw to him. But
And
Ocon
that's, I think
is the man.
Gasly like Lewis is breaking the mold of what a F1 driver is supposed to be. So Gasly looks up to Lewis in a lot, in the sense that he's not just an F1 driver. He's
Mm-hmm.
a fashion designer. He does his music,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
these different things. So I think, and I know Gasly wants to be like that, not necessarily the same as, but to have his own thing outside of F1.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what makes him so likable.
Yeah.
Um,
Relatability. Yeah.
exactly. So as much
Yeah.
as that is important, you still need to do your talking on the track and with the team.
Exactly. And speaking of talking on the track, Mercedes not doing much talking at all, boy, Michael. But we're not going there. We're not going to battle them because again, it's preseason. We're
It
not touching
is.
because Russell last season came in as Mr. Saturday, Mr. Saturday. But they were saying all he could do is perform on Saturday, and then what did he do, Michael?
Mr.
Hold
Consistent.
right, consistent, top five,
Yep.
except for that one time where he went to assist the driver in the accident when he had to come out the
Joe, when he
car.
went to
Right,
assist
the
Joe, yeah.
one, but
No, but that was a crash, to be honest.
It
no, I'm
was a crash.
saying
The car was damaged.
His car
So
was
even
damaged.
if
He
it is,
couldn't
he
get
got
back
it
in.
back.
nah, he could have gotten
No,
it
no,
back
no.
a fight
I
in that
watched back.
one.
I watched back that
But
in Drive to Survive. His car was out. He couldn't go back.
normally, and then he came out the car. He wasn't supposed to come out
Yeah,
the car.
but you would have
But
retired. So sorry.
I respect it, the fact that he did. But Mercedes, is Mercedes in danger, Michael, of repeating or even a worse season than last season, or we being too we get ahead of ourselves. It's just preseason. We
I
ain't seen
think
anything yet.
I
What do you
think the
think?
brutally honest answer to that question, as much as I am a Mercedes man, the brutally honest answer is I can't say until the third race.
Right. Okay. No
Because
fair.
we're known for sandbagging, so we could have very well
Mm-hmm.
been sandbagging in the testing. Um the reliability seems to be there. Aside from that minor hydraulic issue we had on the Tuesday, on the second day, the Friday, I think the reliability is there, because both days, like aside from that issue, the guys went out and they put on relaps,
Right.
and the speed is there because Lewis pulled out 130 something, so he had like the
Yes.
second
Yes.
fastest, third
Best
fastest
last
time of
time. Yeah. Yeah.
the
I
entire
think third.
testing,
Yeah.
third fastest time. So clearly we have the speed, and the reliability is looking good. I think where we're gonna see the true colors of Mercedes this year is in the race, in the long runs. So I think quali might be good for us,
Mm-hmm.
but is to keep up with the guys on the track in the race. I think my greatest concern right now is Aston,
Right.
because they've definitely shown a lot of improvements. Even last year and year before, I think, when with Fernando at Alpine, he was able to fight with Lewis. We know he has a lot of animosity towards Lewis, so he might be gunning for him. And if he's in a car that could keep up with him or pass him,
Mm-hmm.
it will be a lot more
Mm-hmm.
fighting, which will be
Mm-hmm.
entertaining to us.
Of
But I think
course.
that's my greatest concern. if it is, I'm brutally honest. But I honestly think we can at least hold on to the third place. And based on how Ferrari moves, based on their strategy as well as the car that they have, we can maybe pip them for a second. But we honestly had to wait until maybe the fifth race of the season to properly make that prediction.
Yeah.
But I honestly think we could hold on. I think, realistically speaking, we could securely hold on to third place. Is there going to be a threat from Aston Martin? There could be. We could answer that question better by the second race. And can we fight for a second place? I believe yes, we can, because the car is already like 2 seconds faster than last year's car. We are not affected by porpoising. So instead of us spending the first half of the season trying to figure out how to handle porpoising, we could now figure out, okay, cool, why is the car so unstable during the high-speed turns or something like that? And we could direct our minds towards fixing these minor problems, because they're still big problems, but not as big as porpoising. So that's why I say we have a chance at fighting for the second place, because the car is a lot better than it was last year. So development could go in towards making the car a lot faster than we made jumps last year, because the car is already a lot faster than last year. So it really is to see the hand that Ferrari is dealt and how well they play their cards. But I honestly think Mercedes will end either second or third at the end of the season, with the greatest threat being Aston Martin to try and pip them for third. I mean, maybe in the first part of the season, it might seem a little sketchy, but I honestly believe by the time we quarter way into the season, and most definitely by halfway into the season, it will be nothing but a memory.
All right. So next,
and that's honest. That's not me being.
No, I like it. I like the analysis.
That's honest opinion.
Michael, I never thought of a city day where I would have had more excitement for the upcoming season for Mercedes than you, because
he's excited. He never seen excited. He's just being a bit, he's holding back and watching.
I'm guarding my heart, okay? Yeah. I am guarding my heart.
At least in terms of F1. In terms of fantasy, right?
No,
in terms of fantasy.
I understand.
In terms of fantasy.
In terms of the fantasy, I have a Mercedes driver on all of my teams, I think. And if it is I do have a Mercedes driver, I have Mercedes as I current trust.
I think Lewis is amazing to have because he'll be cheap, and I expect good results.
We'll get to that part in a bit. So Ferrari,
cheap, but yes.
Do we think that Ferrari are the main challengers of Red Bull? Because I like what you did there, Michael. They said, okay, so I think what we did, right, inadvertently, was we broke up who will challenge who. So we know that Alpine and Alfa Romeo, they are going to be battling, and they'll have their own battle. And now Aston Martin is in the conversation of battling with Mercedes. Do we think that Ferrari and Red Bull will be the two main rivals of each other? Ferrari will be automatically slotted into second. Ferrari looked okay in the preseason, in the testing, but they're not looking as fast.
They didn't wow, man.
To me, they were way faster.
No wow.
Yeah, no wow factor. Right? We could talk about the two of them one time. So Red Bull and Ferrari, of course, we pipping Red Bull to be number one, and of course, maybe continue the same fine form from last season. Max looked pretty good. Checo, I'm not too sure yet, but for me, it looks like the top two so far, Red Bull and Ferrari. What say you, Ishmael, on that? You think that's a fair breakup there? So we have Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin. Like those are the battles right there. So the top two battles will be Red Bull versus Ferrari for sure.
I think that's the safe way to look at it.
True.
I think if you say that, nobody can really argue against that, and nobody can really fight you on that. But I would say Mercedes have a huge potential to battle for second. as
Yes.
much as they also have a huge potential to battle for fourth because they can swing either way. But um, I think Ferrari is going back up in terms of the ascendancy. I think they're on the upward trajectory. But the question is, how much on the up are they compared to, Mercedes making a mistake and then correcting the mistake?
I'm glad you said that, because it now made me think of something. Aston is being powered by Mercedes. I have never seen a customer team beat the works team.
Hmm.
I've never seen that in history happen before. I mean, granted that this is one of the is only the modern era where I have so many customer teams. Um, so I think that will put my mind at rest to some extent. I don't think it will be Tutu calling Lance and no, not Lance, but calling Lawrence and saying, "Yo, take it on a little bit." But I honestly think, based on them being a customer team, you'll never have the perfection or the great intertwining of a chassis and an engine. So Aston Martin will do their very best to extract everything out of the PU, but they will not be able to extract it like Mercedes will be able to extract it for their car and really match it with their setup as it relates to the aero and the chassis and such. As it relates to the top two battle between Red Bull and Ferrari, I honestly believe Red Bull are miles away still from Ferrari, because Ferrari will catch them in the corners, but as soon as you reach on that main straight, the Red Bull will just pull away. Like it gives me visions of, when it is Usain Bolt used to run. When it
Hmm.
is they start off the blocks, maybe the first quarter, the 100 meters, he there with them. And then by the time they pass that quarter mark, he starts to pull away. And by the time he reaches the quarter mark, he just gone. I honestly believe it's like that with Red Bull. So yeah, maybe they might lose a better time in the corners. Um, and Ferrari might be able to pull some seconds on them. This I don't think they have the car yet to say they're faster than Red Bull. They might be faster down the street. Um, I mean, they might be faster through the corners, but down the street, the Red Bull will just pull away. So unless it is Leclerc and Sainz are a lot more aggressive to make the corners count, Red Bull is just gonna pull away on the streets. As it relates to Mercedes fighting with Ferrari, I think what will hurt Ferrari the most, that will give us the chance to beat them, is their reliability and strategy calls. As it relates to car pound for pound, the Ferrari is a bit better, but I think the Mercedes are a bit more all-rounded and a bit more balanced than the Ferrari. So that is where the interesting battle will be. So I mean, after the fifth race, we will know for sure. Okay, cool. The battle is between Mercedes and Ferrari for second, but I honestly don't see anybody, and this pains me to say, but I think Red Bull has a grasp on the season going into it. Maybe we never know. Maybe a problem develops later on into the season, that they start starving the engine for air and they have reliability issues. It's highly unlikely. But you never know. But I don't want to think anybody could really beat Red Bull right now. I think the thing with Formula One, it's really a game. When you get to the top, you usually stay at the top for a little while. Whether it's for 2, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, or 8 seasons in the case of Mercedes, I think once it is you reach the top, you stay there for a little while. And Red Bull definitely has the right recipe. And something to consider, after this year, the cars are basically frozen. No real massive development changes. And so this is a year that every single team needs to push their absolute limits to extract every ounce of performance and figure out how best they could make whatever tweaks to the car to really extract all the performance before it is, they're basically racing with the exact same car next year, 2024 and 2025, because 2026 is when we see the next big change or regulations. So unless somebody could come up with something ingenious, find some loophole, find some way to really boost the car, Red Bull is gonna have a hand on it until 2026.
All right, no problem with that. So, of course, the Bahrain GP, we're gonna start to get into the fantasy aspect in a bit. So, the
Nice.
Bahrain GP comes up this Sunday. Of course, last season, Charles Leclerc was the winner. When a minute, what when 137, and then and then of course, he, we got excited by him, right? Carlos Sainz was second, Lewis Hamilton would have been third, George Russell Ford came at fifth. That was the craziness that happened in that race last season, right? And it had us excited. So, Michael, as we normally do, right? As we normally do, would you kindly please break down the track for us and let us know what can we expect for this particular race and what are the tire strategies for this particular track race?
Two things just before you jump in there, Michael.
Mhm.
Why is the pot fourth? You could have just go fifth one time. That's
No,
all
no,
more
no.
excited.
Not important. We only
Not important, yeah.
not important.
All right.
Not important.
Before you go into tire strategies, just wanted to let everybody know because I know some people now jumping in for the first time, and some people are around. There's a new tire compound into the season,
Mm-hmm.
so just something to consider when you're going through your analysis, Michael.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, take it away.
So where we focusing on right now? Tires, because it kind of broke up a little bit.
No, we can talk on the track. Let's talk on the circuit now. Let's break down the
Track.
circuit. So
So
give I know, yeah, yeah.
as everybody can see, it have a lot of streets on this track. This is a
Mm-hmm.
basically a 2-year-old draw. This time is like straight lines. Um, so we starting off at the start finish line and we're running on into turn one, which is this deep tight right hander, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
small street into two where we go left, then go right, and it's a long back street. It's a
Mm-hmm.
DRS zone, so you're going to get a lot of overtaking there. And I think this is where Red Bull is gonna really establish their dominance and pull away from the pack as much as possible.
Let me
Then
just
we
a
go.
quick pause, right? A quick pause,
Mhm.
Michael. Sorry to stop you. Just for those who don't know, can you explain what DRS is really quickly? Because
Right. So
there's some
DRS.
DRS, you're getting points as well in the fantasy, but things like that. So break that down real quickly for them, please.
So what DRS is? So Formula One cars are all about aerodynamics, and each car has a wing, and the wing is basically like this for most of the time. So when it is your driving, breeze is slamming into this, so you have a little bit of drag. But in these DRS zones, if it is you at least 1 second behind the car in front of you, you get an advantage called the DRS, which is drag reduction system, where that wing will open up from like this to like this. So instead of air slamming into that wing, causing a drag when it's like this, it's just going to pass under or over. And you get something like a 10K speed increase, which is really valuable when it is you pair that with something like drafting, which is following the car in front of you directly behind them, whereby they're taking the brunt of the air in front of you. They're basically creating a hole in the air for you to just go faster. And when it is you pair that with the DRS and your wing wide open, you're just going to shoot past them. It creates a kind of slingshot effect. And that is where you're going to get what you call a dive bomb, where you might see somebody shooting it up the inside at a crazy speed and then just getting the braking right to brake properly into the corner and make the overtake stick. So you're going to see a lot of that happening into turn one, especially, as
Mm-hmm.
well as turn four
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom there after the DRS zone, especially because both the main street and that back street, well, that side street, you could call it, are DRS zones. The beautiful thing about Bahrain, it has 3 DRS zones. Is it 3?
Yeah, yeah, three.
Right. So it's really a fun track. So that way you see a lot of overtaking.
Yes.
What I want us to know too, so after this, you come out of 4. Those corners, though they seem kind of far, they are pretty close together, especially at the speeds these guys are going to be going. So as soon as they come out of 4, they're going to concertina up and be one behind each other into 5, 6, 7. And then they will follow each other into 8. And you won't really see any dive bombs into 8. And then they take that right-hander make it wrong, go left. They take that left, and what it is they will do coming out at 10. So actually, they will play the game. Going into 9, they will allow the guy in front of them to really get close so that they could get the DRS. They could go through the section zone close up to them. So as they turn 10, they're right up behind him to get the DRS boost properly to get the pass done. It's unlikely you'll see anybody doing a dive bomb into 11 because of how long of a left hand it is. If it is, they're going to try and make the pass, they will try and do it on the straight, get in front of him, and then make it wrong 11 into 12. Those corners, because it's a really nice long corner, you're hardly going to see overtaken. It's a tricky corner. If it is you get a tailwind, they could lose it. If it is the back spins out or anything like that. So 11, 12, and 13 to some extent are fairly tight, fairly long corners. So they will ease off the throttle. They might coast around the corner a little bit, meaning to say the guys, they might take their foot off the accelerator, not really use any brakes, and let the car coast around the corner as opposed to accelerate, brake, because that's going to throw off the balance of the car. And then into 13, it'll be heavy braking, take the corner because it's kind of tight, and then it's power down that back straight. You will see some people drafting each other. Definitely, they will play a game coming up to that little green dot there that you see, which is the DRS detection zone 3. They're going to be playing a game because you might see somebody easing off the guy in front. He might ease off and let the guy behind him pass him ever so slightly, go into that DRS detection zone so that down the main straight, he has that DRS boost so that he could solidify his lead, so to speak. So although he lets him maybe go a wing in front of him, it will count as him being behind him, going into the DRS detection zone. But the time gap, it's definitely under a second, maybe some milliseconds. So as they run 14 into 15, as soon as DRS is enabled, he will flip that switch, blast past him, and go down the street. Unless you have a car like a Red Bull, it's unlikely you'll see him playing that game unless it's absolutely necessary, because Ferrari comes up with a beast of an engine and they realize they really can't handle them. But you'll see maybe the midfielders playing that game, trying to get the DRS, going down the main street, and that essentially is a lap of Bahrain.
All right. Now we could finally get into the fantasy aspect. Now, viewers and newbies, especially Kapil in the chat, I want you to watch this track, right? Especially Kapil and the newbies. Watch the turns, because we're going to talk specifically about the drivers that suit these tracks as we go through each season. There are certain drivers, or certain constructors, not just the drivers, right? The constructors, the cars that have great straight line speed, that have reliable braking on the turns, and there's some that don't. Right? I didn't say anything, right? But there are certain vehicles that, and then too, weather conditions as well. In the rain, the weather, there are certain amphibians that are just really good in the rain. So there's a lot of to the conditions, just like cricket.
They like it when it's wet.
You know, right? There's certain teams that certain tracks just suit them. But of course, it all matters what happens on the day. We can say everything we want today, and then bam, something completely different happens. But let's get straight into the fantasy. But of course, it's a new engine. And when I say engine, it's a new platform that we're using. Michael Instrument is not the same play on from last time. Right?
That's a good thing. It was honestly crap.
Thanks for coming through. I mean, it was, fine.
It was decent, but it was crap. I used to be frustrated using anything on my phone. Like, using it through the app, it would load crappy, and then you had to start over. I just used to go into the browser and use it from there instead.
Yeah, I never use the app. I don't use apps. I never, ever touch the app. I always just use the web browser, for real. So, of course, for anyone playing fantasy, and especially now that F1 has their own fantasy, we have to, of course, look at where we're getting our points. We have to look at, try to understand what can we use our advantage, where we getting scoring from, that kind of thing. So we'll quickly go through this really, really quickly. So, of course, the difference in this format, guys, compared to what we would have played previously, you can choose 2 constructors and 5 drivers, And of course, now you have of course, you had a captain like you did before. We didn't say captain, we said turbo driver, but they're saying captain now, right? Or turbo. Well, we like the term turbo driver. Now you have I think the two constructor thing is pretty decent. I like that
Yes,
idea. What do you feel? What do you feel about our second constructor edition, Mikey?
I love it because it had those weekends whereby you were so worried about banking on one particular team and it could go either way and it will
Yes.
hurt your heart. So now you have the flexibility to say, okay, cool. I'm playing it safe with this constructor because I know they would not be in the fray. So like when it is we reach to that let's say mid-season point whereby okay, if the constructors race or the drivers race is really tight, you'll see men fighting on track tooth and nail. They don't care. You might end up with a Max taking out a Lewis or Leclerc taking out a Max. And when it is you reach that point this season, if it is you bank and you put all your chips on Red Bull on the team as your constructor, you're screwed because one of the two cars is now out. But with the two constructors, you can play it safe in that, you put, let's say, a Aston Martin, whereby, more than likely they're not going to get up, they're not going to get in a tangle, more than likely, and they will end up in the points and you put your Red Bull. So, God forbid something happens up in the front, you're still going to get some points with your second constructor. It balances off too, whereby you could distribute your points more. Because, I mean, one of the philosophies we had last year was, okay, cool. If it is you have one of the drivers from a particular constructor or both drivers from a particular constructor, it doesn't make sense to put that constructor on your team. So now you could spread out your points a little bit more and you could have a team with 5 different drivers from five different teams and 2 different constructors. So you're spread out your points gain across the entire field. That already makes sense because not everybody gonna get points, but it's definitely a bit easier for persons getting into the fantasy to really see how it feels. To me, is like you have, if it is you want to liken it to football fantasy, is how it is you get to have 2 goalkeepers, whereby your constructors are your goalkeepers,
Right.
and you have your 5. Oh, it's like we're playing 5-a-side football.
Yeah.
You have your 5 players, where it is you want to distribute it, 3 attackers and 2 defenders and your 2 goalkeepers, or however you want to build your team, whether you want to be more offensive focused, offensive in this case being the quote unquote big drivers, the Max, the Lewis, the Leclerc, etc., or you want to be more defense focused, meaning to say those quote unquote safe drivers who okay, cool, they're going to get me consistent points. So George, Sainz, etc. Or we're gonna play it extra careful, whereby we don't want nobody thinking, and remember about fantasy, whether it's football or Formula One or whatever sport it is you're playing fantasy in, you gotta watch your budget. So if they say, okay, cool, I'm going for very cheap constructors so I can bring in all the top drivers. So I'm going to run a Williams and a Haas as my constructors, but I'm going to have Max, Lewis, Sainz, Alonso, and Gasly. So you have a big set of drivers there. So it's really nice. It gives us a lot more playroom to develop some really interesting teams.
Yeah. Now, Ishmael, they added something very interesting here. Some new things that we could get points from. The pit stops. Box. Right? We could get points now for the fastest pit stop. Now, for the newbies, the best pit stoppers are Red Bull. Right? That's easy. That's foregone, right?
That's straightforward.
Right? Very straightforward. So, hint, the best constructor, if you think that the driver wise might be too expensive, you want the constructor, you can jump on that. What do you think about this addition, Ishmael? Pit stop, getting some points from the pit stop. I don't know if Ishmael, you with us though?
I'm talking and I'm muted all the time. That applies to the team, right? The constructor they choose.
Yes. So you're getting pit stop for the fastest teams. They will score points for the timing for the pit stops.
It's really interesting because it challenges the thing that Michael was just saying, where every point counts, So, do you really want to choose teams at the bottom, constructors at the bottom, that you wouldn't get any points from there, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
potentially, that pit stop points could accumulate if you choose a team like Red Bull. So, do you want to go with a Red Bull constructor, or do you want to go with like a mid-range McLaren or lower, something like that, and then you don't get any points from it there. So something that adds a little more, I would say, balance into to the people who decides that here's what a high constructor, a premium constructor is the way to go. It adds some more intrigue for that and some more rationale behind that.
And I think based on how it was structured last year, the points the constructor got was solely based on the driver's performance.
Correct.
Whereas with this now, you put some of the points power, quote unquote, into the hands of the team itself. Because Formula
Yes.
One is not about the drivers alone.
No.
If it is when that driver comes into the pits, the guys lounging about, they can't hold the tire up, that kind of thing, they're going to fail. So it spreads out it makes the entire thing more inclusive. It gives the team it gives the opportunity for the team to show its value. To show that, okay, cool, we matter, because if it is we don't put in the 10 points that we get from the fastest pit stop, then as a constructor, we're not really saying anything. It's based on our driver's performance alone.
Yeah. Now, for the newbies again, right? Because we're trying to break this down and do this part of the video for the new people who are now, because we have a lot of musty. I want to thank a few of my friends, Naldo, Ian, Taps, Johan. We have a few guys that want to jump in the league. I think right now it's at 25 people already.
Beautiful.
It's at least 50. I think we might get a few more. I might have to increase it. Do we need to go in the settings and increase it? What I want to explain quickly, now the race weekend, for those that don't follow F1, new to F1, the race weekend starts on Friday. So what you have on Friday is a practice run. So you can use Friday,
then Saturday,
right?
Sunday,
Sunday, exactly. I love that. So you can use Friday as your gauge, because Friday is your last day really to do your last minute tinkering.
Yep.
You get a good idea of how the car is running on the track itself. And of course, how the tires are reacting to the track itself. Saturday is your qualifying. As you can see up here, I have a graphic here. Qualifying. Yes, you get points for qualifying. So the action starts from Saturday, guys. So, and again, there are some drivers that just do really well in qualifying, and then something about the race, it just does not happen. But you want to get that guy who gets the pole position, right? Pole position, of course, self-explanatory there, meaning first, right? They go into that race starts in first position. Then, so we have 10 points for that pole position, 9 for second, 8 for third. Right? Of course, you all could go to the rules and see it for yourself. Then we have something interesting. Now, I won't get into the sprint yet. I think sprint is something to explain when that happens. And
we'll leave sprint for later on.
Yeah, we'll do chip strategy, because sprint is when you want to use your chips, right? There are chips as well to double up and triple up your points, right?
Now, back up there to the drivers for me a second.
Right, oh yeah, so you want to see this. Right, so I'm glad you stopped here.
No, high up, right?
Right? Overtaking, you get the points for that, obviously. -1 for positions lost, which is something we had in the other app as well. Fastest lap, 10 points. That is brilliant. Right? So you can have fastest lap. Like that. Now the winner does not necessarily get the fastest lap, guys. So you might be lucky. You pick someone who finished 5th, but he got the fastest lap time for the entire race. Driver of the day gets 10 points as well. So you can pick a
both.
Right? You can both things. Yeah. You can influence this. You can get 5-10 friends to influence this for you. You can say, K-Mark had the race of his life. I want to vote for K-Mark, right? So I love this aspect. I really like this.
And this gives outlying drivers the opportunities to think. Because look at last year. For those days, Vettel never in a race. But he one driver the day. 10 points. That 10 points extra the dog pull,
Come on.
And what I like is that overtakes mode. Because you remember you have those guys, like let's say Lewis.
Right.
Start off in 7th or something like that. overtake all the way to the top, but because of shitty pit stops and back down in 7th. So he wouldn't have necessarily got any points, gained points, but in this way, he will get all the overtake points.
Yeah, correct.
Or like one of the Aston Martin guys, they start off in 11th, they make their way all the way up to the front, fighting for second, third, and there's all our overtake points. They drop back down, they fight back up again. That's 2 sets of overtake points, you know. So I really like the introduction of the overtake points.
Yeah. Right. Now again, you could go ahead and read these
Just
but we
wanted
just
to
break.
bring up something there. When we mention fastest lap, just the caveat to that is you have to be in the top 10 out of
10.
20
Well, yes,
to
of
get
course, of course.
fastest
to get
lap, yeah.
points. Yeah.
Right. So I'll go,
Just
but
making
that's where
sure
this comes
we
in
say
now.
everything
This way
for the
this
new
comes in. This
distance
will
training.
this will come into that now. This will explain that. So of course, guys, you only get points if your driver places in the first 10.
10.
Right? Has to place in the first 10. You only get points for that. Now, there's some now I want to brace you all, like, guys. Now
You
there's
see them DNF points?
I want to brace you. Your driver, let's say, I just saying Max. You put Max as your captain, Max doing his thing, first place, cruising. Lap 25 of a 57 lap race. I just saying Max crashes. Max
Yeah, shut down. Overheat.
right? So, something happened. You get you and bro minus 20 points because he didn't finish.
And
And
anything
this
about
can
it,
happen. Eh? Talk to me.
anything about it. He starts off, let's say he starts off in pool. So he has no overtake points in the race to capitalize on.
Ooh.
So if it is, scroll back up for me. So he started off on pole.
Right.
So no, the quali. So he gets 10 points from quali
Right.
because he starts on pole. Then now it is he starts the race with 10 points because he qualified in pool. So he has 10 points. But he crashes or DNFs in the race. That's minus 10 points. So his 10 points the weekend now become minus 10 because he DNFs is minus 20, taking away his positive points and then putting minus points on him.
But
That
point to
is
note as
brutal and
well.
wicked.
Point to note as well. Sometimes drivers may DNF with a crash, but sometimes they may DNF with an issue, right? And then when they DNF with an issue, it usually happens where they might pull to the side of the track, and 5 cars may overtake them before they stop. So we have to imagine Max and Paul
Robin salt to the womb.
and then guys, I don't have no brakes. What's going on? Car slippery, and then cruise past Lewis, cruise past the top 10, and then they go to pits and retire. So that's not only DNF, but is minus points for
Minus
lost.
points for positions lost. That is
Well,
brutal.
let me swing that back on you, Ishmael. Big up Antonio for coming through. Antonio, to get your opinion just now. I can swing that right back on you. So if the driver falls, so let's say no DNF, but they have an issue, they do what they have to do, whatever, overtake points because he catch himself back. So let's say he dropped to 10th, he catch himself back and finishes 3rd. He has one more pit stop, and that pit stop is the fastest pit stop for the race because they're breaking on pit stops, right? They do it pit stops first, second, and 3rd. So people who have the first fastest, right? Then he also has fastest lap. Right, you can come now and get some real clutch points there, bro. Clutch points. So it again, and we've seen this happen. I'm not making up these scenarios.
Think of these situations. Let's look at it from this situation now. When it is you have a guy who's in second place, there's no chance of him catching the first place driver, but he has that cushion to the guy behind him where they say, okay, cool, come in and we'll make a shot for fastest lap. So imagine he started off in 8th, made his way to 2nd, build up that gap. So he got all these overtaken points. And now he comes into the pits, he gets fastest pits. So that's plus 10 points for the team. And then on top of that, he goes and puts down the fastest lap of the race. So the points this season, from a fantasy perspective, is going to be crazy intense. and the races, we are going to be watching the races like we did last year, and be like, damn, that was my turbo driver, and that's all we think. But now we're gonna be like, yes, fastest lap. Or no, look how much you can overtake. Or damn it, dog. This from a fantasy perspective, this year is going to be
It adds more
absolutely
Wait.
excitement.
Let
It
me
adds
ask you a
more-
scenario. Right? Let me say your driver qualify like fifth, right? So
Mhm.
they get
5 points.
a 5 points as 5 points there, right?
5
And
points.
then
But 6 points. 6 points for
something
qualifying
like that.
fifth.
Yeah, six
6
points,
points.
right?
Right, 6 points.
Let me say they bounce up a SU, right? And they get overtaken by like about 5-10 people, right? So let me say
Five,
they're on
10
zero
people is
points.
plenty, yeah?
Yeah, pick one. 5.
Five, right? So they on let me say 1 point there, right?
So they're on 1 point now.
So back on 0, right? No,
Right.
they're on 1. They're on 1.
They're on 1 point.
Right.
Right. They on 1 point there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then well they
They're on
DNF
1
after,
point and in 10th place.
right? And then they DNF after, right? So that's the minus how much
Yeah.
ever
They're
points.
going to end up with minus 19
Wait
points
a
for the
second.
weekend.
What happens when you turbo drive that person?
Wait, watch it.
When you turbo drive that person,
Damn!
does the
Is that
negative
19
What is
is
gonna
that negative 19 by 2?
Wait,
Yeah, that's a lot. That's special. That is
Cause-
special.
because it's multiplied by 2. They didn't say positive modulus. It's negative.
I would like to think a negative multiplied by a negative is a positive.
Antonio, talk to me. So anything jump out today? Any new things for the app so far for the race? For the points, if F1 fantasy points?
Well, those two constructor things gonna be nice. Definitely looking for the drivers that making you overtaking points. So obviously Alonso is a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
My boy Bottas, I find the Alpha look like was running pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Haas is probably a mid-table car. So if you look at the same coins and for the fantasy sake, Haas could give you like a little 5 points, 4 points, depending on how
Mm-hmm.
it goes. Because K-Mag is a iffy guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your favorites, Red Bull, Ferrari. I'm not sure, what Mercedes per se just yet. I saw Hamilton did his thing, but I mean, I feel like Red Bull and Ferrari held back a lot. Most of the teams held back, to be honest. But for the fantasy sake, it's gonna be a real interesting one. My teams in particular are real interesting. It's different from last season, that's for sure. But anybody who now going on play, I would always say, you go for your big boys. Definitely Verstappen, go for a Red Bull constructor. Really and truly, these cars are Red Bull constructor they could take it through the whole season. The constructor alone does bring a lot of points. For our constructor as well.
So question on that though, right? Because I know we're going through the rules here, and I only noticed constructor get points in 2 occasions, right? If I'm not mistaken, they get points on the qualifying, right? And then they get points. Well, for these, if sprint race is different because they'll get the combined total for the drivers, right? But in terms of the fastest pit stop, that's where they get the points, and then the total there, right? So let's say they get 3 points from the third fastest pit stop, right? We're looking at something like Red Bull. So more time than not, they're gonna be first or second. But let me say third fastest pit stop.
Yeah.
Right? So that's 3 points there, right? If you take that 3 points and then we could kind of say, okay, they're going to definitely be 2 drivers in Q3 more times than not for Red Bull.
Yeah.
That's a guaranteed 13 points that you're gonna have on that constructor going in.
Every weekend.
So now every weekend. And then multiply that by how much races in a weekend. So now does that mean that
22.
you have to have a premium constructor? Even if you don't go 2 premium for sure, that's real money, you have to have at least one premium
On a team.
because
I agree. I think that's
that
solid
extra
thinking.
13, that extra 13 minimum, because remember, it could go up to extra 20 if they get fastest pit stop every week, right? But that extra 13
And then my
is
question
something
too
that
now,
you can't
because it's
give up.
separated. Because it's separated, are they still gonna add the drivers' points to the constructors'
They are.
points?
Yeah.
They are.
So
If you
then
look
yeah.
right above, the constructors' score will be combined of two of their two drivers.
So you see,
So, so,
definitely.
so do you go? Do you go
Even if it
two?
is you pull in Red Bull with all the two drivers, you're still gonna benefit.
So do you go two premium then, if that's the case? Because if Jared screws down there to the drivers who's like 10 million and less, we have a lot of exciting possibilities, right? Because that's like Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly, you have the both Haas
Kima,
drivers,
Giko,
right? So do you go, let's say, two premium constructors for Red Bull, and then fill your team with Max and whoever else, or Lewis and whoever else, or Charles and whoever else?
that makes sense. That's a real good strategy there to play. If you played for points and points alone.
All right. Well, and on that note, let's do our team selection segment. So in this segment, we are going to pick the best team possible for Bahrain. Now, of course, you are allowed 2 free transfers for the upcoming races as well, the subsequent races. So let's take it away now.
And you
Let's
could
try
roll
and
over
get
one.
right. So let's try and pick the best team here, especially for the newbies. Let's go through the process. What I like that breakdown there from Ishmael. So what do you want
Let's
to
choose the
start with?
selectors first. Let's choose the constructors first.
Sure, structure first. Correct is right. I agree with that. I agree with that. All right.
I
So
would
take
say at
it.
minimum, you need Red Bull.
Okay, no problem.
Definitely. Red
All
Bull
right.
is
I
like a
So
agree.
Haaland or a Keane or whoever else
right.
used to
So
be.
that leaves us at 72.8 left. All right. Next constructor.
Next constructor, I would say you could get away Pontin, Austin, maybe Haas, or if you want a
I would
second premium, you could go quite up
I
to
would have said
Alpine.
Ferrari. I'd have said Ferrari for the second premium.
I
Because at
don't
least for the
mind Ferrari.
first, I would say for the first few races of the season, your 1-2 is gonna be Ferrari Red Bull or
Yeah,
Red Bull Ferrari.
I don't mind Ferrari. I'm actually going to probably use Ferrari in most of my teams in terms of constructor, not driver. But also, Alpine won't be terrible.
Exactly.
Austin Martin doesn't look terrible. Haas doesn't look terrible. Alfa Romeo doesn't look terrible. Right?
So let's go
So
Red Bull Alpine then.
Anthony, you agree with that?
Red Bull Alpine. Okay, cool.
if if it is for this particular race, choosing it for the season.
No, well, this we
Now
want to
for
tackle
the
this
track.
race. We want to, and
If
I
it's,
think
if it's for this race, Austin had to be in contention there.
True, because the Tesla was here in Bahrain and they were doing well. So
yeah.
fair enough. So Aston and it saves some extra on the money
Yeah,
side.
quite a bit.
All right, so we have 66.1 left. So we're going to driver. Give my driver Antonio. Which driver first should be first on the roster?
Green premium, because if
Yeah, go ahead.
that'd be Max, to be very honest with you.
Now remember, we gain max points off of the Red Bull
Red Bull.
constructor.
Red Bull
So
constructor.
is it
So you don't
necessary to
have
put him on
to
the
go
team?
max.
True.
Right? You could go Charles, you could go Sainz, you could go Russell,
I
you
could
could
Go Lewis.
if it's
you could go
that,
Lewis.
yeah, well, if it's that, I probably would go Charles.
But
Seeing that he
Max
was the
Max is the favorite to win, right? So
yeah.
just double down if you show the reliability there for Red Bull.
So what I
Because
would
remember
do
what
is
happened last season for Red Bull in Bahrain.
Double DNF.
Yep.
yeah.
Right?
So that's
So
20 by 2 getting minus off from them at the end of the day.
and then we're gonna captain Max if we have Max in the team.
Yep.
So by 3. So the question
So extra
then
peanuts
goes
are a
to
lot of things to consider.
the question goes to what is your risk tolerance? If you're willing to take the risk and you put Max there, you captain Max, you have Red Bull, and Max comes first, Checo comes like second, third, fourth. You're in a gear, you shoot up in your rankings one time. But you do that, Max DNF, Checo DNF. You have no Charles Leclerc, no Lewis Hamilton, no George Russell. You shoot right down there. So the range in points you could get is huge. But
Yep.
if Antonio wants to go with Max, I have no problem with that.
So what I personally tend to do in these situations, I would pick my rebel constructor, but I would go for the safer driver. I would go for Sergio because he's cheaper and he's safer and he's finished races. So that's
True.
just me.
Yeah,
Because obviously Max Leclerc, these men going gunning at it as the get go. But obviously Checo playing second place, he playing second fiddle. So to finish the race and get points, he most likely go be on the podium third.
if you're going Checo, might as well go Sainz.
No, the thing with Stein, I don't know. I really don't know.
No.
At this race in particular, I feel like Red Bull will come back out hard because they will obviously learn from that first Bahrain two the other. So I don't feel like what happened in this particular instance. But I mean, honestly, I'm coming from.
I don't think it wouldn't, but the
Minus.
thing with Checo is you don't know where his mind is at.
Yeah,
Because Checo could just come out this season guns blazing saying, Max screwed me over enough times last year, I'm not playing nice guy anymore. You will say nice guys finished last and he's just going to come out for vengeance.
All right, now before we move on, that's one. Let's answer Kapil. So Kapil is asking when is deadline. Kapil deadline is usually just before qualifying on Saturday. So that's how
So you have 2 hours, 2 days, 12 hours, and 23 minutes.
So we use the Friday practice as an idea or a gauge, and
It's
then
a good gauge,
try
yeah.
to pick a team before the before practice before qualifying. Sorry, on Saturday because they get your points from Saturday. He's asking, do you need to do several teams? No, you don't. But we just like to because it's there. You have the option to do it.
Do it.
Where you can have
So-
3 teams do it because again you can use 2 teams to scout for your one main team, so you know how.
I was now going to say that. That is the biggest
Yeah.
reason why it is you use all your teams.
Yeah,
Because
so you want to
for
have
me-
one main team to help you win the overall prize or do really well in our league. You can use having 2 other teams on the side, quiet as you
To
give.
see
Like, I
who
have
it
this
is
fella-
performing, what the combinations that work are, yeah. That is why it is you use all your teams.
Yeah.
And what I would
Yeah.
say, don't leave it till last minute to build your team. Go on from today, tomorrow, build your teams, who you're confident with, so that when it is you see FP1, FP2, FP3, you know exactly, okay, cool, this is who I need to go, this is who I need to put in, because up until that deadline for this very first one, you have unlimited subs and transfers. So build your teams from now, so that when it is you see the FP3 results, you know, okay, this is who I need to take out, this is who I need to put in, and you're not then scrambling to build a team, because remember how it goes. The Friday is FP1 and FP2, and then the Saturday, it's FP3, an hour break, and then straight into qualifying, and that's it. Then we need to consider the timings. Qualifying is on a Saturday. When it is qualifying is happening, it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock in Trinidad. So you need to know yourself. Are you now rolling out of your bed? Are you running around doing errands? Are you cleaning the yard? So you need to take all these things into consideration to know, okay,
No,
cool.
for real.
I need to make my changes Friday night because I know my Saturday morning I have XYZ meeting to go to, and then I have to run and go and do this for my moms. So always take this into consideration, because the last thing you want is to miss out on this opportunity to make as many transfers and as many changes as you want for free, quote unquote, because after the deadline, you only have 2 a weekend. So if it is you realize, hey, my team is absolute crap, I need to do entire rework, you're going to have to either A, use your chips to make all those changes, or you're going to need to do it incremental, meaning to say, you use your 2 transfers, then the next weekend you use your next 2 transfers, and then the next weekend you use the next. So instead of you making all your transfers for 1 weekend for free, you have to use 3 weekends to correct your team. And by then, it might really be that you need to do a different team. So guys, make sure to set your teams from now, so that way and look at the everything, the results. The easiest way for this, you don't have a subscription to the F1 channel, to F1 TV, YouTube. Usually like 2 hours after the sessions, they have the highlights. So you could go on and watch the highlights of the practice sessions. Teams are looking like, this is what I need to do. So you have a little gauge as to how it is you need to rework your team so as to capitalize.
And not just that, to break down the weekend, right? So if you want to break down the weekend really quickly, so Friday is practice 1 at 7:30 a.m. Then practice 2, same Friday, 11 a.m. Then we move on to Saturday. We have a practice
11 a.m.
3
TT
at
time.
7. Yeah, that was a TT time, 7:30 a.m. And then qualifying on the Saturday again is 11 a.m. and the race on Sunday is 11 a.m. Right? So
Just
let's wrap up this.
The race is
Let's
11.
wrap
Just
up.
remind us that
Yeah, the race is 11. Yeah.
Hey, what we doing? Brunch instead of lunch?
Yeah, that's why we in Island Bay Sunday, easy peasy, bro. So
Guys,
let's
just a
go
go.
on.
reminder that
Let's
these times
let's
would change
finish.
based on your race because
What's that? Sorry.
just to remind everyone, these times would change based on your race. So it wouldn't really be around this time all the time.
No, this is strictly
is
for
a-
Bahrain. This is strictly
Is a traveling circus we dealing with here. So
yeah.
sometimes it might be in the AM, sometimes it might be late in the PM.
Yeah, Australia is like 1 a.m. and stuff like that. Yeah. So let's see how this team selection is. So this is our team selection, predicted team to do the best for the Bahrain GP. So let's go. So what's the next driver we putting in here?
I would say let's
I
go
wanna
cheap
see
drivers
Charles.
and see who we could get.
All right.
We mightn't have enough money to pick drivers after that. So
Okay,
That's
true.
no
So take
problem.
out Charles.
no, leave Charles. Leave Charles. I think I see where
Nah,
we could
you
go
won't
with
have enough for
this.
the rest of the drivers.
Go down, and let me start with I would say Kevin. I feel like
K-Mag.
K-Mag could get something.
Yeah, K-Mag could get something.
And if we want to double up on Haas with
Nah, I never double up on drivers, to be honest. It's too risky.
yeah, but in terms of the price point, if we want to keep Charles, right, is something that we could do there.
You know, you could if it is you go for if it is you scroll up, what's the price Alonso?
Alonso is 9 or
3.3.
yeah.
Three-
So we could,
9.3. Okay. I would say you go Gasly and then one of your cheap drivers.
Well, you can't afford anybody after Gasly. All you could do if you're doing this now, I'm leaving you all to pick this team, eh? So Nick De Vries could come in there. You have 6.3 left, and then you could slide in someone else that you feel
let me slide in Nico first and see how much money we have remaining.
comfortable with. So you're going double. No,
Take out Nick and see what we could get.
7.
And I really like the new format as you select drivers, the options change based on your budget.
Yeah.
I really like that feature this year. It's really good, helpful for trying to figure out, okay, cool, who can I still put into the team?
So the question is, do you want Charles or no Charles? That would give us the good between having 5.
But is this
drivers.
the best performing team to go into Bahrain with?
If you want the best performing team to go into Bahrain, maximum points.
I say take out Charles and put George.
Take out Charles, put George,
Yeah,
and see if we could get Alonso in that somehow.
And it could be, you should be able to slip in Alonso after that.
So Antonio, tell me, guide me, Antonio. What you had in mind?
right. So, right,
Alonso. That's
I mean, Alonso is not a necessity because you're already pulling Alonso points with having Aston Martin as a constructor.
so you could go Valtteri instead if you want.
Yeah. So take
That
out
might-
Alonso and go Valtteri. You can maybe go a Ocon or a Gasly. and then you take a hash driver to make up your budget.
Well, why not? All right, all right. I'll leave in you. I'll leave in you. I'll leave in you. All right.
So take out
I'll leave in
Alonso
you. I'll leave in you. Mm-hmm.
and go Gasly or Ocon, whichever.
Right. So Gasly.
And we could go, who you all said, Bottas?
Mm-hmm.
And now
And
you
if
have
you get Nico,
4.7, and you could be able to get a Nico.
Nico.
All
And look at
right.
that. You have a balanced team there. A proper balanced team.
Alternative to that is if we could switch out Gasly and Bottas for somebody like Alonso and who's just above under Bottas there. If you scroll up
Bottas
under
is
Bottas
Gasly
is
with
Lance.
Lance.
Yeah, but you don't want to double on Alpine again, so that's fine. It gives
But
us
you
a
remember,
good
it's not
range.
Lance, is the
Yeah,
No,
well,
but
yeah, Djokovic.
if we
Dragovic.
were to go Fernando Alonso and Djokovic, it would still be both Austin and we have Austin constructor. So there's a nice balance there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I find this team too safe. I do agree with it, but this is what you'll pick. No problem.
No, well,
I
Antonio, how
think
the
for the
last name
safe
now?
for the first weekend, it's good to go safe.
Yeah, but what's
Because you
saying is
don't
you
know
want to
where
get
anybody is.
no, but you wanna true, but you wanna
Of
dive
this
on
whole
those points
team,
as best as possible.
of this whole team, I only have 2 people in my team. Just
I
saying.
do, yeah. But
And then people
let
start
me let me just recap the team. So this is the team chosen by the panel. This is the F1 Fantasy Pavilion team, predicted team
Having no
for
Ferrari inside here is a war crime, man.
it's a
right,
risk. It's a risk, yeah.
right. But let me finish now. So this is the F1 Fantasy Pavilion team for Bahrain 2023. So of course we have Max, George, Pierre Gasly, Valtteri Bottas, Nico Hülkenberg. Our the two constructors chosen were Red Bull and Aston Martin. Who do we captain in this team? Who do we select as our driver for DRS? All right, so you have DRS Boost. Who is our DRS Boost driver?
I think the
Who's
only
our
answer
turbo
is
driver?
Max.
Who's our turbo driver?
The only answer is Max, in my
Max.
opinion.
All right.
We go with Max and we pray on Max, and if Max finish good, we come out like rock stars.
Exactly.
If he doesn't,
And him is the fancy pavilion predicted, right? Best performing team, right? So this
and
is the
if he doesn't come out on top, according to Gunter, we look like a bunch of
Can wankers.
right. So this is the pavilion scout pick, right? So go and look at it. Now, Antonio, which team did you go with? Who's your drivers? Call out your team real quickly now.
All right. Pull up here. Hold on.
oh boy. I seen Jared team looking like my team.
No, that's not what we're going with yet. That's just mm. That's an
All right.
experimental team.
So, cool. That was one of them for y'all.
All right, I like what Kapil say. Kapil say you want a non-safe team for reference. No problem. We'll do that. But go ahead, Antonio. By the time, go ahead.
Right. So I'm gonna call out one of these teams for y'all. I had Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso, De Vries, Bottas, the constructors Ferrari, and Alfa Romeo.
Mm-hmm.
That you'll have zero balance. No money again after that.
Mm-hmm. Call the drivers one more time.
Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso, De Vries, Bottas.
I'm not vexed with that team, you know. Michael, you have your team selected already? What's your call out your team now?
Just one
Wait.
second. I'm pulling it up.
All right. Right. Now doing this here for Kapil.
You can probably stop you know, you could probably bring in
And we still have 14 left. So we have at least somebody solid that we could drop in there. If you want to say you drop in your Ocon or something, right? We still have somebody solid we could drop in. Right? So for me, if it is I'm not frightened with the driver and double constructor thing. But if that's something we're trying to run away from, and you want to at least put all your guns on the eggs on some solid drivers, you have Ferrari, you have Alfa Romeo, you have your Fernando Alonso, your Max Verstappen. So they're the two standouts so far from the preseason. You have Carlos Sainz, we could cover some Ferrari points. You have Nick De Vries, Esteban Ocon. You could even swap out that you could swap out him, and we could even go and say, you know what, a George Russell if you want. And I think there's a solid team going into.
Yeah, that's a solid team because you have a Ferrari constructor, you have a Red Bull racer, you have a Ben, you have a Mercedes racer, you have the dark horse, and
Yes.
you're an indie boy. I would say
So
that
Kapil, this for me is the team that I would run forward with going
yeah, this
into
is a good
that.
team. I like this team.
Yeah.
These teams guarantee you, these gentlemen guarantee you Q2.
Yes, correct. That is important because remember the qualifying rounds is 3 stages, and then you have to reach Q3. And most of these guys here should and have the ability to reach Q3. Yeah. I fully agree with that.
So my team,
Mm-hmm.
we have Russell, Sainz, Ocon, Alonso, K-Mag, with Red Bull and Alpine as the constructors.
Mm-hmm. I like the Alpine shout for sure. Alpine quiet. Yeah, I like the Alpine shout. Of course, Red Bull covering the points and pit stop points as well too. Can't go wrong with
Yeah.
the pit stop points for sure. They are the best. Well, I mean, we'll see, but they are notably the best in terms of pit stops. All right, I happy with that. Ishmael, you want to call out your team real quickly?
So I mean, I have a few teams I still do my tinkering, but I came across an interesting team, and I think this team has real potential. So constructors is Alpine and Alfa Romeo. So I went for premium drivers rather than premium constructors,
Right.
which again now I'm rethinking it based on the amount of potential that I could be losing there. Right. But the drivers, I was able to fit Max, Lewis, Charles within a team,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went with Yuki and Hulkenberg to just get the remainder of my budget.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I have
But,
I have three of the premium drivers from three of the premium teams
right.
fitting into one squad.
Okay.
Well, yeah. The only thing with that is, the thing I consider with that is if one of your premium drivers, DNF, that's a minus 25, and then you have two cars that most likely not going to bring you much points, and constructors bringing you most points when it comes to fantasy. So that's going to affect you right there.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
that was
but
my problem with the team that you selected. To me, there's not much coverage.
And you see, you're picking a strong man who going to stay in front of the pack. These men not going to overtake.
Overtake.
So
Exactly.
they're going to
Mm.
keep
Exactly.
follow.
right,
Exactly.
but at the same time, you could pick somebody budget just to have on a team, right? So like De Vries or Hulkenberg or something like that, and they DNF and bring you the minus points.
Yeah, had a
Yeah,
whole
but you're not gonna feel that. That's not gonna hurt you because most worst case scenario, the Vries didn't reach. Let's say you only reach Q2 or Q3, right? And he DNF. That you're not gonna cry over that compared to Max Verstappen DNFing or George Russell DNFing.
No,
But
well,
but
if
but
if
you
Max DNF, I don't mind as much because when you look at the when you go to was like
ownership.
FPL now, you look at the ownership
Yeah.
there, and then you don't really lose as much compared to if you go with a punt like Ocon or Stroll or somebody like that, and then you lose the thing there, and then everybody who did the more mainstream driver compared to your Ocon or your Gasly, your Stroll, they went with somebody like Alonso or Russell or something like that. You lose quite a bit there.
what's saying is come like Salah. If Salah do nothing, you cry. But if Nketiah do nothing, you say, all right, it was expected. I'm not gonna care. So it's the same thing here. It's the same thing here. But to me, I have to have a little coverage. And remember, we watch a whole season. Anything could happen. So you have to have your team set up in a way. And I love the two constructor thing. That's why I like this so much. I love this two constructor thing that they brought in here. At least you see one DNF there, you have the other one, and you hope, all right, I could get something. And then there's so much points you can get from the constructors. I think that your constructor has to be pretty solid and has to be well selected. But of course, this is the first race, so we don't know. We don't know what to expect. We don't know. As Michael rightfully said, by Australia, we might have a better idea of the performance, who's looking good, and then we can have a better idea of how to formulate and shape our teams, right? So we are approaching to our mark there. We could wrap up Kapil and others. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I hope that you guys make 3 teams, don't stick, and of course do not miss the deadline. Right? You don't want to be first time in the
And you're rushing and scrambling. Not a good feeling.
I think there's also a minus 10 points for missing the deadline.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Right, so don't forget, guys, we live this Sunday, Island Bear, 11 a.m.
Bear.
Right, 11 a.m. We are Island Bear. Thankfully, it's finally a early, not too early race because we are accustomed going in for 9 and 8 and all kind of craziness. Michael, right? Michael has been there with me, thick, thin. Right, thank you so much, Michael, for your support. So hope to see some new faces there, and of course, I want to thank everyone that showed interest in joining the fantasy the league, right? So far, I think as I said before, we are 25, I believe. I could check it really quickly to see. But I just want to thank everyone who showed interest, especially a lot of FBL players showed a lot of interest in joining the league. And so we are 29 teams right now. Well, let me say 26 because I know Antonio put 3 teams in there. But yeah, I will take that, and hopefully it grows to at least 50 by the time the season begins. I want to thank my panel, Michael, Ishmael, Antonio. Right, you're gonna see our faces every Wednesday, well, every other Wednesday or every race week, I should say. Now that the season has officially begun, and we cannot wait for Friday when we when we see the drivers take the stage, take the practice, and do it for real on Saturday. Now, so what's that, Antonio?
So what one of those?
What's that way?
Oh, Michael, straight over.
Oh, Lord, that's cool actually.
We doing our raps again,
No, we are doing.
Then we do the raps again,
right? No,
create the raps group, create the rap league again.
I'll do a league first, a content creating league. Now, after Bahrain, we have the famous Jeddah, and then we have Australia. So some those last season were very interesting. So I can't wait to see how these 3 come out, especially with the new modifications.
And we have some new tracks this year. We have Vegas.
Vegas will be on a Saturday, so that should be interesting.
Serious?
Yeah, it's a Saturday race. That should be interesting.
And they're modifying. I think it's in Japanese.
Spain.
It's some track. It's Spain track.
Getting some touches too. Yes.
Yeah, they're changing around the layout on Spain, so it's gonna be a nice season.
Yes, I did my research. I already feel well. I took my time.
Let's go, bro. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
So create the raps because this year we had to make some money.
Yeah.
Well, I want a jersey because we're not allowing Antonio to win a second tier in a row.
I fully agree with that. I know that's for that. So well, let me find this thing, Antonio.
And this year, let me put up with money earlier clock so that whoever win the raps could get a prize.
Yeah, because we still have to fix up. Now, before we roll, I am not seeing the graphic though. And look at here. Right. So before we go, right now we normally do this. Right, so I said, why not? We could do this. Michael, start us off now.
3rd place, Lewis. 2nd place, Sergio. 1st place, Max.
Okay. Ishmael?
There's a rough one because I mean first race, so it's really hard. I'll start with first Max. Don't really expect anything more than there. Second I'll go with Charles, and I'll go with let's see, Checo in third.
Okay. Antonio.
All right, first Max, second Charles, and third Hamilton.
Okay. First, third, Alonso. Second, Checo, and first, Max.
I like that.
That's
I
what
like
we're going
that.
with.
Yeah.
That's what we're going with there. All right. So, guys, I want to thank everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget we'll be at Island Bear this Sunday doing our live watch
Come
along. So
true,
join
best
us.
burgers,
Yes,
drinks,
great
food, everything
Adam,
is
hopefully
nice
they're
vibes.
cooking. Of course, tomorrow FBL content back on Thursday tomorrow. So we have a lot of things in store for you guys. And yes, I want to again thank my panel, thank everyone in the comment section, and happy picking, guys. We hope that your turbo driver finishes the race and does well, and may you get all the pit stop points, and we hope you newbies enjoy the season. Now, please don't
Welcome.
get vexed when you play it, when you drive at DNF. They will learn, Michael and Antonio. They will. And hopefully the good
You
mouth
go
of
cry with
Ishmael is
us,
not
but
as
they go
strong.
laugh with us at the same time.
No, we
Yeah.
gotta get stronger this season.
And
Come on.
hopefully Ishmael good mouth not too strong,
Stronger.
because Ishmael good mouth real strong, right? Real strong. Well, again, thanks everyone.
This
So
time
we
I
are
want
back.
only positive things.
This year,
Only positives.
positive token only.
Only positives. Only positives.
I will take that.
I
So
won't
again,
mention the DNFs.
right? Well, please don't.
If
So
it is,
again,
you
we thank everyone.
that one, you lot the numbers.
Nah, he's not that good. He just good at predicting demise of other drivers. That's not his boy. So yeah, I want to thank everyone again. Of course, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm see you all in the next one. Happy picking, guys. Take care.